Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show where we dig into a pile of sources to pull out the really key insights for you, our listener.
Yep, cut into the noise.
Exactly. And today we've got a real head scratcher. Imagine spending like $4,000 on a graphics card from China.
Okay, big price tag.
Right. But get this. It's hot, it's loud, and for most things, especially gaming, it's actually worse than a standard RTX 4090.
So why would anyone do that? It sounds completely counterintuitive.
That's the puzzle. And that's our mission today, to unpack the mystery of these unique 48-gigabyte RTX 4090s. They're not exactly official.
Not at all. Our main source here is a great video from Linus Tech Tips called NVIDIA Never Authorized the Production of This Card. Pretty clear title.
Huh, yeah, no kidding. So we're going to figure out what these cards really are, who they're actually for, how they perform, but only under like very specific conditions. And what this whole situation tells us about, the crazy world of GPU making and AI right now. Prepare for some surprises and maybe a real aha moment about where hardware value really comes from today.
Okay, so let's start with that paradox you mentioned. $4,000 for 48 gig card.
Yeah.
But if you run gaming benchmarks or even just general stuff, productivity apps, it pretty much loses to a regular 24 gig 4090 consistently.
It makes no sense on the surface, right? You'd think, okay, double the memory, double the awesome, but nope. So if gamers aren't buying them and, regular power users aren't getting a benefit, who is? What's the point?
That is the $1 million, well, $4,000 question. And the answer is all about applications that are absolutely starved for VRAM. Video RAM.
Okay.
The real target here, large language models, LLMs, and other heavy-duty AI work.
Ah, okay. AI. That makes a bit more sense.
Yeah, these models just devour VRAM. The more you can give them, the better they run, or the bigger the model you can run, period.
But doesn't NVIDIA have, official AI cards for this, their enterprise stuff? Why not just use those?
Well, a couple of reasons. NVIDIA's official cards, like the upcoming 5090s or the current A series, they're super expensive and often hard to get your hands on.
Right. Supply issues.
And even then, something like a 5090 might only have 32 gigs of memory, which, as Linus points out in the video, kind of pales in comparison to these 48-gigabyte Franken cards.
Okay, so more VRAM than even some official Pro cards. But you mentioned they sometimes still lose, even in AI. How does that work? How can it be worse sometimes, but then potentially, crush the competition other times?
That's the key nuance, yeah. It's all about hitting the right conditions. Under those specific conditions, these 48 GB cards don't just beat a regular 4090. They can apparently outperform even more expensive official cards.
Whoa.
We'll get into the benchmarks that show that. But first, we kind of need to understand how these things are even built. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, the Frankenstein's monster part. The design is weird, right? This blower-style cooler, 2 slots thick.
Exactly. And the video makes a good point. NVIDIA apparently doesn't let its usual partners, the Asus Gigabyte MSI types, make gaming cards like that.
Why not?
Because those blower coolers are great for servers. You can stack cards close together, and they shoot the hot air straight out the back.
Yeah.
NVIDIA worries, or so the theory goes, that cheap gaming cards with server-friendly coolers would eat into the sales of their very expensive enterprise cards.
Ah, cannibalizing their own market.
Right. And what's weirder, these aren't even copies of NVIDIA's professional card designs. Like an RTX A6080 has this specific cutout in the circuit board for air intake. These hacked cards, they don't have that.
So it's a totally custom thing.
Pretty much. A unique cooler and PCB combination, as the source puts it, made by, let's say, unauthorized manufacturers in China, specifically to turn gaming 4090s and those China-only 4090Ds into AI workhorses.
Wow. Okay, so it's not just sticking more memory on. Linus's team thought that at first, right? Just desolder, resolder.
Yeah, that was the initial guess. But then they found this other article from TechBot showing pictures. You see these modified cards being tested right next to pallets of perfectly good, brand new gaming cards marked for disassembly.
They're taking brand new cards apart.
Seems like it. And the way they get to 48 gigs is the really clever or maybe scary part. They don't just use denser memory chips. They use double the number of memory packages.
Double? Where do they put them?
Some go on the back of the board, just like NVIDIA does on their high-end professional cards like the A100 or H100.
Wow. So the original gaming PCB, it's useless for this.
Essentially, yeah. They have to make a new PCB to accommodate the extra chips on the back. The original board gets stripped, mainly for the GPU chip itself, which might explain all those chipless 4090s people sometimes see for sale online.
Huh. So they're literally transplanting the brain, the GPU, onto a new body.
That's a good way to put it. And think about the economics here. The fact that it's apparently more economical to buy gaming cards, disassemble them,
Yeah.
and remanufacture the card from scratch.
Tells you just how much NVIDIA must be charging for their official enterprise GPUs.
Exactly. There's a huge price gap they're exploiting. And there's another potential advantage, too.
Oh, yeah.
NVIDIA's official enterprise cards. They often have lower power limits. They're designed for reliability and stability in servers running 24/7, so they dial back the power draw to manage heat and lifespan.
Makes sense.
But these remanufactured cards, they seem to keep the massive power delivery systems from the original gaming card designs. So potentially, they could be faster than the official NVIDIA solutions in some tasks, and cheaper.
Okay, that's a potent combination. Cheaper and faster.
Yeah.
But there's got to be a catch. You mentioned that blower cooler.
Right. The source calls it a wimpy dual-slot cooler. Can it actually handle the heat when you're pushing that much power? That's a big question mark.
And doubling the memory chips must draw more power too, right? Does that take away power from the main GPU core?
It absolutely could. It eats into the total power budget for the card. So it's this tricky balancing act between more memory, raw power, and not melting the thing.
Okay, so it's complicated. How do they actually perform then? Let's get into the benchmarks. What did they find just looking at the card itself?
Well, GPU-Z confirms it's a proper RTX 4090 chip, not the slightly cut-down D version for China. The memory chips were Micron brand, probably scavenged from other cards, like you'd expect. And it uses a custom vBIOS, the card's firmware. Interestingly, they set the sub-vendor ID to NVIDIA, which seems unlikely to be true. Linus's team doubts NVIDIA is secretly okaying this.
Yeah, probably not. And underload.
Loud.
Yeah.
Very loud. The fan hit 5,000 RPM. And the GPU core itself was only getting maybe less than 400 watts.
Less than a normal 4090 under full tilt.
Yeah, probably because all those extra memory chips are sipping power from that same 450 watt total budget. And you couldn't adjust the power level either. You're stuck with how it comes.
Okay. But the real test, AI, how did it do running those large language models?
Right, they use a Llama, which is a popular way to run LLMs locally. The model was Google's Gemma 3.27b IT. But first they did this funny test asking the AI about themselves.
Huh. Yeah, I saw that. It completely made stuff up, right? Said Linus had kids he doesn't have.
Yeah, claimed he had a son and 2 daughters and co-owned some display at the Mall of America.
Amazing. It just lies confidently.
Totally fabricates things, even pretends it got the info from Wikipedia. A good reminder that AI isn't always accurate, even when it sounds sure of itself.
Definitely. Okay, but back to performance. How did the 48 gig card do against the regular 24 gig one with that first Gemma model, the Q40?
So Q40 means it's quantized, sort of compressed to save space. For that model, the regular 24 gig 4090 was actually a tiny bit faster.
Faster? Really?
Yep, 40.43 tokens per second versus 40.06 for the 48 gig card. And crucially, neither card maxed out as VRAM. They were using around 21 gigs.
Okay, so what does that tell us?
It shows you that just having more VRAM doesn't automatically mean more speed if the workload doesn't actually need it all. Or maybe those power limits on the 48GB card we talked about are holding the GPU core back slightly.
Right, okay, so it's not a magic bullet for everything AI.
Definitely not. But then they switched to the Q80 version of the model. This one is much less compressed, much larger, theoretically too big to fit comfortably in 24 gigs of VRAM.
And this is where the 48 gig card should shine, right? Those right conditions.
Exactly. And oh boy, did it shine. The difference was night and day. The 48 gig card was just churning out text super fast. The 24 gig card was going word by word, visibly struggling.
Wow. Do they have numbers?
Yeah. The 48 gig card hit 26 tokens per second. The 24 gig card, only 4.76 tokens per second.
That's, what, more than 5 times faster?
Literally 5 times, yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason was clear when they looked at memory usage. The 48 gig card used about 33 gigs of VRAM, keeping the whole model running right there on the fast GPU memory.
And the 24 gig card.
It maxed out its 24 gigs of VRAM, obviously, and then it spilled the rest, another 33 gigs or so, into the main system RAM, which is way, way slower.
Ah, so it was constantly having to swap data back and forth between the slow system RAM and the GPU. That kills performance.
Completely cripples it. So that's the aha moment. For AI models that are too big for standard VRAM, having that extra capacity is absolutely massive. It avoids that slow system memory bottleneck.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. A huge difference. Did they test anything else? Image generation?
It didn't. Using Comfy UI with Stable Diffusion, first a small batch, just generating 2 images.
Huh.
Performance is pretty similar. Both cards used about 24 gigs of VRAM, so the regular 4090 was just about maxed out, but coping okay for that small task.
But then they pushed it harder.
Yep, bumped it up to generating 16 images at once. Now, the difference was stark again. The 48 gig card, it used 42 gigabytes of VRAM. The whole process was all just running on the GPU, smooth progress bar working away.
And the 24 gig?
It was, quote, nowhere close.
Yeah.
Still stuck showing like 23.5 gigs used out of its 24.
Right at the limit.
And the 3D core usage was pegged at 100%, probably just managing the data swapping. It took way longer to even get started, and system memory usage shot way up again.
So, same story, basically. If the task fits in 24 gigs, it's fine. If it needs more, the 48 gig card is vastly superior.
Precisely. Especially for things like image generation with big batches or complex models where you want everything on the GPU for speed.
And it's interesting, the economics of this. The video mentioned the actual memory chips aren't that expensive.
Right, like DDR6 memory is maybe $2.90 a gigabyte, so the extra 24 gigs of chips might only cost a few $100. That's why the whole remanufacturing process makes financial sense, given the high price of official cards.
And they're kind of accessible, right? You don't need special server power supplies or anything.
Exactly. It's basically just a 450-watt 4090 from a connection standpoint.
Hmm.
Uses standard PC power connectors. So as Linus put it, anyone can start tooling around with AI at a scale that used to require, serious enterprise gear.
Okay, so AI is the killer app. What about other pro workloads? Video editing?
They tested that too. Loaded up a massive project in Adobe Premiere Pro, like a feature film's worth of footage, 3 terabytes.
Okay, that's big. How much VRAM did it use?
Only about 16 gigabytes.
16. Even with all that footage.
Yep. So the takeaway for most video editors, more VRAM beyond, say, 24 gigs probably isn't going to help much for standard editing.
But maybe heavy effects, After Effects, lots of layers.
Possibly, yeah. If you're doing really intensive visual effects work or complex multi-layer compositing in After Effects, maybe then you'd see a benefit. But for typical editing, probably not.
Okay. What about 3D modeling, like Blender?
They tried that, loaded a high poly model, a 2.1 gigabyte file, a fancy donut, I think.
Yeah, the classic Blender donut benchmark.
The very same. And again, performance was pretty similar between the 24 gig and 48 gig cards.
So more VRAM doesn't help much there either.
Not for just loading and manipulating complex polygon models, it seems. The video suggested that for those kinds of tasks in Blender, you're probably better off investing in more system RAM, like doubling your main computer memory, rather than GPU VRAM.
Interesting. So it depends where the bottleneck is for each specific task.
Always. And finally, gaming.
Right. The thing we started with. The conclusion.
Don't do it. Maximum VRAM they saw used in any game, even with all the eye candy cranked up, ray tracing, frame generation, was maybe 12 to 14 gigabytes.
Nowhere near needing 24, let alone 48.
Not even close.
Yeah.
And because of the potential power limitations or weird firmware, the 48 gig card often performs slightly worse. So as Linus says, benchmarks are like hips.
Yeah.
They don't lie. Don't buy one of these for gaming. Full stop.
Okay, so summing it up for you, the listener, these Frankenstein 4090s with 48 gigs, definitely not for everyone.
Nope. Very niche.
They're really only useful for productivity tasks that benefit from high VRAM, and that means, overwhelmingly, especially AI.
Right. Specifically, when your AI models or your data sets are just too big to fit into standard amounts of VRAM.
But you're taking a risk, right? The reliability. Who knows? They can lobotomized and reassembled.
Exactly. No warranty, questionable cooling, custom firmware. It's a gamble. They exist purely because of that specific AI VRAM demand and the price gap in NVIDIA's official lineup. It's pure economic arbitrage meeting a technical need.
So, thinking bigger picture then, we've seen these kind of bootleg GPUs born from market gaps and the just insatiable VRAM hunger of AI.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing.
Offer this really powerful, though, niche solution. It really shines a light on how incredibly valuable VRAM is in the AI world and the ingenuity people will show, authorized or not, to get it.
It really does.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? These custom cards, built outside the official system, are actually better for certain very important tasks than the official, more expensive hardware.
Yeah.
So does that point towards a future where hardware becomes more modular, more adaptable, where users can maybe tailor components like VRAM more specifically to their needs?
Or is this just a temporary blip, a workaround because of current market weirdness and supply shortages?
It could be either.
Yeah.
But how does seeing this kind of underground market change how you think about what makes a GPU valuable? Is it just the official specs? Or is it about solving a specific problem, even if the solution is unconventional?
Mm.
What does it say about where specialized hardware might be heading?